What the hell's that? Oh, could it be? It's been so long. Oh, the games. Shit. I should never have abandoned you. Oh my god, do you still work? No, you're full of fucking battery acid. I fucking abandoned it. I shouldn't have abandoned you. Oh, shit. What's going on, guys? My name is PixelSean, and today we're going to be getting into my top 5 Game Boy games. Now, this is my list, and it will be different from yours. We have different experiences. We are different people after all, and that's what makes us beautiful. So if you do have a different list, let me know your list in the comment section down below. I would love to hear what your top 5 Game Boy games were, but here are mine. Now, starting off at number 5 is Superman. Now, this game is remembered by most for being terrible. It was made by Titus after all, and if that name doesn't ring a bell, well, a year and a half after this game released, an even worse Superman game came out. Superman on the Nintendo 64. But regardless of the poor reception, this game still holds a special place in my heart. In this game, you play as Superman, clearly. However, you don't get all of his powers. You can fly and you can punch, and that's about it. But there was something special about finally being able to play as one of your favorite superheroes as a kid. Something about being able to fly, seeing the cape, that just made this game so special to me. I never did finish it because the game was incredibly unforgiving and had insane difficulty spikes. There are enemies and environmental hazards everywhere, and your goal is essentially to make it to the end of the level while collecting enough keys to progress, all while not dying. It's a fairly straightforward premise, however you only have 6 lives. If you do die, you have 0 continues, so you're back to the start. And on top of that, your health also doesn't refill even if you successfully pass a level. Even though I never completed the game, regardless of the insane difficulty spikes that this game has, with no real rewards for it, and janky controls, this was one of the first games for me where you could become a superhero. Now, I didn't really know any better as a kid, and I didn't really care about the game mechanics. I was just more into being Superman. So this spot may be entirely riding on nostalgia, but Superman comes in at my number 5. On to number 4, Bugs Bunny Crazy Castle 3. I never got into the first 2 Crazy Castles, but this one was actually released for the Game Boy Color, something I didn't own, so I had to play this one on the Game Boy. However, I am showing you footage from the colored version. Now, this was developed by Kemco and released in 1999, and Crazy Castle 3 sees Bugs Bunny looking for treasure of the old castle. Bugs reads that there is a great treasure that will bring glory to the one who finds it, and it's hidden somewhere in the old castle. Witch Hazel, that bitch, has cast a spell on other Looney Tunes, and now they're hunting you and trying to stop you from getting that treasure. There are a whole range of characters that turn up in your play, like Daffy, Elmer Fudd, Foghorn, Pepe Le Pew, RIP, just got 360 no-scope by cancel culture, Sylvester, Taz, and more. The game offered such a variety in characters that appeared, and it made for such a fun experience to any Looney Tune fan. Now, this game was surprisingly big with 61 levels in total, and you had to collect 8 keys in each level to progress, all while avoiding these brainwashed Looney Tunes who were all trying to kill you. Now, you weren't just powerless in your run. Certain Looney Tunes had different attacks where they could shoot at you from a long range, or they can just chase after you. But you were also given power-ups yourself. There were some weapons given to you along the way that provided some kind of protection or got you out of some sticky situations, like a cork gun which gave you a bit of a range, or you can get a super power-up which made you kill enemies instantly, very similar to Mario's style where it makes you temporarily invincible, or you can even get bombs. Now, due to the size of the game, I never finished it. 8 keys and 61 levels, that's 488 keys. I wasn't doing that as a kid. But I grew up on Looney Tunes and I loved all the characters, and that was simply enough for me to try to avoid all the characters while getting as far as I could. That's all I needed in this game. The music was fun and upbeat, there was never really a time where I felt the game was unfair or unreasonably difficult, and it was just fun to see the path of your enemies and think of a way to outsmart or outwit them. If you died, it was because you didn't have enough forethought, or you were just simply unprepared. With its inclusion of the beloved Looney Tunes characters, clever level design, a fair difficulty, and a basic premise, Crazy Castle 3 makes its way to my number 4 spot. So my number 3 is Donkey Kong Land. Arguably one of the best platformers even to this date. Developed by Rare and releasing in 1995, this game was a portable version of the SNES Donkey Kong Country. It's a 2D side-scrolling platformer that relied heavily on players being focused, attentive, and having immaculate timing. The start of the game slowly introduced players into the mechanics of the game in a very controlled and stress-free environment. Rare knew what they were doing, and they knew how to introduce new mechanics and obstacles to players without any annoying pop-up menus. Within the first few minutes of the game, they would shape bananas as arrows to tell the player the direction they need to go to. They also show a big K spinning. When you collect it, the letters rise to the top of your screen, informing players that hey, there might be other letters out there that you need to collect. Enemies are also introduced to you at a long distance, so you have a long time to react, and if you get hit, you are given multiple hearts in the game, so it can be quite forgiving at the start. You'll eventually unlock the Rhino Rambi, but you are also introduced to him in this cavity, and the only way out is to jump. Now at this point in the game, the player has already learned to jump, so they're taking the information they've previously learned and applying it to this new situation to get out of that cavity. It's smart, clever, and simple introductions to gameplay mechanics like this, and just simply valuing the player's intelligence that really resonated with me as a kid. I didn't feel like I had to read walls of text just to learn how to play the game, and I didn't feel like I had to resort to the guides that came with these games just to learn how to play. I could jump in, start playing, and learn by doing. It's all trial and error, and that was what made it fun. The game does get progressively harder with new enemies, new environments are introduced. However, if you persisted, you could eventually learn the right timing and complete the level. The game was difficult, but not in a way that was unfair. You knew that if you died, it was because it was of your own error. The controls were so tight and responsive that the only room for error could have been from the player. And when you did complete a difficult level, it was so satisfying. The game is packed full of secrets, and overall it was just an incredibly well-made platformer, one that still stands up today. Moving on to my number 2. Pokemon. Now this list could not have been made without a Pokemon game on it, and I was tossing up between two. I have Pokemon Yellow, and I love the additions and enhancements that game offered over Red and Blue. Starting with a Pikachu, for one, was incredible, and your interactions with it actually affected how much it bonds with you. However, with these enhancements and additions, I still have to stick with my OG, my first Pokemon game, Pokemon Red. This game, after all, introduced me to the franchise. It was the game I started on, and I was instantly attracted to the Charizard on the front of the box. This game started everything for me in Pokemon, and it got so many people into the franchise. For those who don't know what Pokemon is, it's basically a game where you catch little pocket monsters. You have a team of 6, you raise them, you level them up through battle, and you fight other Pokemon in the wild and also other trainers. There is a typing system, like a complicated rock, paper, scissors scenario, where certain typings are stronger or weaker against other typings. It's up to you as a trainer to build the most robust team to make your way through the story, become the Pokemon League champion, and essentially be the best like no one ever was. The game purposely encouraged connections and communications with other people in real life. So from the very start, it never felt like you were playing this game alone. It was such a community-driven game. The game actually had exclusive Pokemon to specific versions of the game, and if you were wanting to complete the entire 151 Pokedex at the time, yes, there were only 151 Pokemon back in the day, you needed to trade with other people who had different versions. On screen now is a list of Pokemon that weren't available in Blue, Red, and Yellow. And if you wanted to complete that Pokedex, you'd need to go out and find someone who had each corresponding version of the game to get the Pokemon that weren't in your version. But how did you trade? You needed a link cable. You had to put the Pokemon in your party, you had to go to a receptionist in the link cable club, and at the same time with the person you were wanting to trade with. You then had to both click on Trade Center, and once you were both there, you could actually see your friend's Pokemon data. Once you both selected the Pokemon that you wanted to trade, you'll both be asked to confirm the trade, and that's it. Your Pokemon will be sent to them and theirs to you. From the beginning, it encouraged storytelling between friends, it encouraged tip sharing, and above all else, it established a true sense of community. For me, there has not been a game that was able to mimic the level of connection Pokemon did, and that still proves true for today. Pokemon is still an unrivaled beast of a franchise, constantly innovating and trying new things. With its focus on connection, relationship building, and a surprisingly deep mechanic for a kid's game, Pokemon Red sits at my number 2 favorite game for the Game Boy. Now moving on to my number 1. It is a Super Mario Land game, however, it is not the original. That one does get an honorable mention, because it was a game that certainly is incredible, but not my number 1. For me, and this may hurt some people who were fans of the original, but my number 1 Game Boy game was Super Mario Land 3, otherwise known as Wario Land. So why did I pick this over the original Mario Land? It's simple. The game essentially had more to offer. It had more power-ups. Wario had a dash attack. He felt less vulnerable compared to Mario. Mario, in comparison, felt incredibly weak. Provided the enemy didn't have any hazard points, Wario could actually touch enemies. He could pick them up and throw them at other enemies. He just simply couldn't do this in the original Super Mario Land. Mario had a simple jump attack where he could jump on enemies, or he got a couple of abilities throughout his playthrough. Wario had that jump. He had Mario's large and small form, but he also had a dash attack, which means that you could attack enemies from the side. Mario was always at a range, or for you to jump on top of them. Wario had all that. Plus he had the horizontal attack as well with his dash. This dash allowed you to break solid objects and use it to combat enemies. And in my opinion, he also had just better power-ups in the game. There was a Bull power-up where Wario would turn into Bull Wario. This allowed him to destroy enemies and blocks much easier. And on top of that, he could create waves by crashing into the ground, and he also stuck to the ceiling. He had a dragon ability which allowed him to breathe fire, and it even worked underwater. However, underwater, instead of fire, it shot out projectiles. He also had a jet power-up which allowed him to glide and gradually descend. This power-up also allowed him to jump higher and allowed him to walk quicker. The bosses to me were even more interesting, and the level designs were far more intricate. And this game actually introduced a new mechanic to the franchise. Depending on how many coins you collected throughout your play, it would determine what house Wario got at the end of the game. If you did crap, the game would ask you to retry and get Wario a better house. Here's a house for 1 money bag. Here's the one for 2 money bags. 3 money bags. 4 money bags. 5 money bags. And if you got all 99,999 coins, as well as the 15 treasures across all 40 courses, you would then get the Planetoid. What this did was it gave players an incentive to go back and do better, to explore the levels again. It provided replay value. There were only 4 years between the release of Super Mario Land and Wario Land. However, in just such a short period of time, Wario Land improved on everything Super Mario Land had to offer and brought in mechanics that are still used today. It's because of the tight controls, attention to detail, smart level design, and creativity that it lands itself as my number 1 favorite Game Boy game of all time. So guys, that is my top 5 favorite Game Boy games of all time. Let me know what you played as a kid, what your top 5 was. I'd be really interested to hear what your experience with the Game Boy was growing up. If you also liked the video, I would greatly appreciate if you like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. It very much helps it out. But that's the video for today, guys. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you in the next one. All right, bye.